And what about you, Jeff? How have you applied kind of the same philosophy in how you approach life and work? And
Well, the essential thing for me is maintaining my connection to God, to Source. It's an ongoing practice. I don't set aside certain times of the day when I engage in these practices. That's basically my whole life. And of course, I'm not there all the time. I'm not a part of any organized group. I don't have a consistent spiritual practice except, I would say, mindfulness, paying attention all the time, and monitoring my internal state, paying close attention to my feelings. How do I feel about things as a guide to whether this is something good for me or not. And also learning to trust my instincts or my gut feelings. I'm engaged in a lot of practical work, farming and gardening and carpentry and so on. And I have plenty of examples of the consequences of not trusting my gut feelings and then having to deal with the mess that comes about or the painful consequences sometimes of injury that I've inflicted on myself because I didn't heed that inner voice that said, whoa, slow down, don't do that, this is not good, barging ahead. I'm getting better. Mind, intellect, consciousness is fantastic. It's mysterious. It's really inexplicable. But our mind is still a tool. It's a fantastic device for gathering information, for analyzing information. But it still doesn't really tell us what is worthwhile doing. Our mind, kind of stops at that point. There's a different aspect of ourselves that we need to hook into in order to determine what's worthwhile doing. Yeah, the doing of it, we're great. Humans are great at doing stuff, But figuring out what's worthwhile doing, well, that's a different activity. So that's where feelings come in. After mind has analyzed the situation, has gathered the data, has collated the data, has referenced all the memories that you retain about how situations in the past have been resolved, which way forward. That's when you need to check in with your feelings. Your feelings are designed to give you a clear indication of which way to go. Are you feeling good about this? Are you feeling bad? If you're feeling good, follow that feeling. In Pirelli work, which Anna may touch on at some point, it's in horsemanship, natural horsemanship. One of the mandates is follow the feel. Your feelings are designed to give you that guidance that your mind is incapable of giving you. Don't go out of your mind entirely, but living only within the confines of your mind is very constricting, and it's going to give you basically more of what you already have. It won't lead you into the unexplored.
Very good. What would you say to people who have experienced, I felt like it was a good idea, but then it backfired? Are they missing something? Were they following the wrong feeling? What about experiences like that when you thought, I felt good about it, but it didn't turn out as a positive experience? What about those situations?
I can speak to that. I had an experience over the last year. My son was not doing well in public school. My son is very bright, very gifted. He is smart, and he wasn't doing well in public school. He was not challenged enough, and he was dropping out. He didn't want to go to school anymore. He didn't feel good about going to school and all these things. So we tried all kinds of things, conversations in school, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't getting any better. So I started exploring alternatives. And I found a school that was promoting itself as a school especially designed for those children. And it sounded really, really perfect. And I felt really good about this. And even though it was a bit out of our range, kind of financially, we were not quite capable of putting our child in private school, but we felt that it was important for him to get a good education, and if this was the right thing, we felt to follow the feel and trust that this all would be resolved. And so I felt really guided to sign my son up for this school. As it turned out, it wasn't as great as we were led to believe it was. And what we were sold was not what we were getting. That's kind of like the bottom line. And I felt that confusion as well, going like, well, but I felt so good about this, and it really felt guided, and I really felt led to this school and this situation. So why is it all of a sudden turning south? Can I not trust my feelings? But then a process started happening in me where I was challenged to reach in very different faculties of myself, overcome fear, overcome a sense of disempowerment. I rose up and spoke my truth in a very powerful way. A whole lot of things started happening through this negative experience that actually really, really served me well, and that led to a lot of healing and empowerment that I may not have had otherwise. So in my experience, and this is not the only experience that I have had where things appear to go completely south and things started occurring that you really don't want and don't feel good about, but then as you deal with the consequences of this, let's say, negative experience, all of a sudden faculties are developed and you get an opportunity to grow and heal to a whole new level of being. This is where I very much learned that everything has its purpose, and even, and sometimes not just even, but especially the negative experiences or the unwanted can bring growth and understanding and a upliftment that otherwise would not be possible. So I have really learned, and this is just one example of many, that if you just stay with it and say, okay, I'm in this mess. I mean, this, well, we may get into it. It became a pretty big mess. I'm in this mess. So what am I being asked to develop? And what are the attitudes that need to change? How can I rise above this and bring this to a whole new level of understanding and being in this world? This specific situation, it became worse before it became better, but in the end of it, I can say in all honesty that I have learned stuff that I otherwise wouldn't have learned. I have overcome certain fears or overcome certain inhibitions to express, a sense of powerlessness, etc., that was in my spiritual process exceptionally important. So this is where I say even the challenges, and sometimes especially the challenges, are birthing ground for incredible growth. And here's where I like to use the metaphor of gardening. You first have to dig the soil and make a big mess before you can plant your seeds. You have to break the soil. And often these quote unquote negative experiences or a big mess that is occurring can help break the soil so that the seeds of your growth can be planted in it. And often we are only able to change when confronted with an unwanted situation. And this is where I can jump to Trump, and this is why I started declaring, I love Trump. I love him. He's great, because he is doing just that. The big freaking mess that he's creating is good, because in that mess, seeds can be planted that can grow to lift humanity to a whole new level. And this is why I love Trump, because I have learned to see everything, and especially the negative or the unwanted, as something that can help us grow spiritually. And growing spiritually and understanding who we are spiritually, that is really the only thing that matters in the end. Our relationship to ourselves, our understanding of ourselves, our relationship to our Creator, and our understanding of that relationship to our Creator is really what life is all about. Everything else is transient. We can gather stuff, we can build homes, we can do all kinds of stuff, but messing around in the physical is always invariably temporary. The moment you croak, no matter what you gathered in this lifetime, it's gone. It's nothing that is going to last beyond your lifetime. So all that really matters is our spiritual evolution. And as it turned out, often our spiritual evolution is supported by what we would call negative experiences. Because that kind of forces the issue of rethinking what we think we know. As long as everything goes well and everything is just dandy, you know, you plod around in your day, it's all fine and nothing changes. It's when the rubber hits the road and the shit starts flying, that's when you go like, whoa, wait a second, whoa. And this is when true growth can happen. So when the whole Trump situation started, I started witnessing people running around like mad and going, oh my God, this is terrible, and we have to impeach him and get rid of him and resist. I was looking at it and going like, no, wait a second, this is good. This is really, really good. And Donald Trump is doing us a great favor, because he, in all his ugliness, I'm not saying that he's, you know, all unicorns and rainbow farts. He is definitely showing us a whole bunch of ugly shit that humanity as a whole, because this is not just an American issue, humanity as a whole has to look at some of this shit that he is representing. And he steps into the light, proclaiming his garbage, showing it to the whole world for us to look at and investigate. Because Trump is not just one person, he is representing an entire consciousness that resonates with his message. And that's a good thing, because now it's out in the open and we can look at it and we can deal with it and we can bring it to a higher level of consciousness. So this is why I say I love Trump, because he is helping us get clarity on those things that need to be looked at and that were hidden before and kind of like in the dark. He brought it out in the open, boom, for all to see. And that's a good thing. So Trump is not the enemy. He's actually serving humanity to rise above these ugly, nasty, fearful, greedy, yucky bullshit. He's representing all the bullshit that humanity bought, and now it's out there, and let's deal with it. So I'm not a fan of trying to kill the messenger and trying to boot him out and impeach him and, you know, make him somehow the bad guy, because he's just holding up a big mirror for all of us. For all of us. Nobody is exempt, because if Donald Trump is in your reality, if he's showing up in your reality, you betcha there is some part of you that still is in vibrational alignment with what he stands for. And the stronger you feel about it, the more he is showing you something inside of you that needs exposure to the light. And denying that is not going to solve the Trump issue. It's exploring, okay, what is he showing us? What is he actually showing us? And can I transform that from the inside out that is being called for? And this is why I started my little I Love Trump business, because let's embrace Trump. Let's embrace the issue that he is bringing before us, and let's deal with it from the inside out. There.